mind is not to cool off the person and not to avoid emotions, but to bring out emotions, to inspire the heart with emotions that the heart should respond and act accordingly to the logic and meditation, what the mind was feeding the person and is feeding the person. And this is basically the seasons and also the different events that are taking place during the season. In addition to that, there's also dew, tal. When it comes to the first day Passover, we praise the Almighty. We stop asking for rain. We don't even praise rain. And if we do praise rain after that, we have to repeat that prayer. Because rain in the time of the summer, as we ask a winter rain of the winter, is not desirable. What do we say then? We say, Merit Hatol. He brings down dew. Tal, dew, is not something that is dependent on the initiative of a person. Doesn't have to work the ground, doesn't have to process the ground. Tal is something that comes from above. The Talmud tells us in Tainus, Tractate of Tainus, Tal is called Le Metza. There is no stop to it. There is no limitations. And this is basically the difference between Tal and Mutter. Mutter is rain, it depends on the initiative of the person. Person has to work the ground, person has to toil their shoulders, as the Medrash says in anthology. Shavru es Arpan, they showed they needed that. And then after that, they married to Tal, to rain. Tal is not dependent on the work of a person. And this is basically the difference between these different seasons in the year. Namely, winter, summer, rain, snow, dew, and coldness. And now we come to another, if we can fit that in, a deeper level. There are three different levels, as Chassidus explains, that are reflected in many different things, called light, water, and heaven, Rakia. Physically, there are three different qualities. Light is something that cannot be felt. It's not substance. Water is something that's substance, but it's not in a certain framework yet, not in a certain structure. Rakia, which is basically ice, is already something that already has a certain structure. It's fixed in a certain design. So the Rebbe explains in an interesting talk in late 1957 that all these three levels are reflected in Torah, in the creation, and also in the service of a person to the Almighty. The Rebbe says in Torah, we have the first level of Torah, the light of Torah, as it is being given from the Almighty. Then comes the level of Torah, as it is already in the state of water. A person is already receiving it. It's a sort of a substance in the person's human mind. Then the person takes this theory, this thought, and applies it in a practical sense, in a physical halacha. How it applies in the Jewish law and the first degree, it has already a structure. This theory is already being expressed in a practical sense. That is considered rakia, like ice, which is fixed in a physical structure. In the same sense that it is in regards to Torah in general, the same thing is also in regards to, in Torah itself, there's the written law. Then there is the oral law, and then there are the secrets of Torah that is considered the light of Torah. The innermost revelations of Torah, Chasidus, Pnimius HaTorah, what we're learning now, is basically considered the light of Torah. Then there's the written law, which is written, but we cannot take out all the details from there. We need to rely on the Talmud, which fixes it in a more final framework and structure in order to know exactly how to draw everything down in a practical sense. The Rebbe says the same thing is also in the creation. The first thing is light, revelation, no details. That's the word of the Almighty. It's creating the world. Then there's a creation. There's a creation from the 10 different sentences that the Almighty said. But it's not yet a fixed in a physical sense that we should be able to feel it yet and everything. Later it becomes a yesh. It is like Chassidus explains the difference between something that it's a piece of clay and later has a design already. So this is basically the difference between the world of Elam HaYitzira and Elam HaSiyah. Elam HaSiyah is a final touch. Elam HaYitzira is basically a revelation, a forming it. And Elam HaBriya is considered the potential. The world of Briya is the potential, like clay. Then the nucleus. Then comes the clay itself, but there's something, but it's not designed yet. And then it comes after that, the final touch, Yitzira and Asiyah. So the same thing is also here in these 3 stages. What does it mean, bringing it down in a practical sense, on a personal level in the service to the Creator? Beginning from the bottom up, the logic of a person, the Aveda, when a person bases their service to the Almighty, connection to the Almighty upon logic, that's considered Rakia. Solid, fixed. Person starts with the human mind, and everything is rational, everything is logical. Then comes a level that a person uplifts themselves higher than the human mind. This is called Kabbalah Explains. Kabbalah Explains means taking upon oneself the yoke of the Almighty. So on one hand, it's considered like water. It's not designed in any way. He is not yet within his own structure. He's uplifting himself and going out of his limitations, going out of his framework. On the other hand, there is still someone. There's still substance there. So this is basically what water represents. On one hand, there's no fixed structure. Water could move around. On the other hand, it is substance. The same thing by him. He wants to uplift himself, but there's still a someone. There's still a logic which he wants to get out from. And then comes the highest level, is that he considers himself completely not an entity on his own. That is when he's involved in Torah to the extent that he doesn't think about himself completely. He's just interested in knowing what he's learning. Torah or Hasidus, it is basically the light of Torah. He's completely not thinking and taking consideration or weighed down by his own entity, logic or emotions. And this is basically from below to above, Rakia, Mayim, and Oir. Rakia means like ice, something physical. Mayim is water, that's already not solid. And then you have something which is more spiritual, the source of everything, which is the inyan of light. Okay.
Thank you.